So a lot of talk about legacy today, also talk about the future. I guess how conscious are you right now of like how much of your legacy might still be undefined a little bit by how Ohio State is set up to do what's coming next?
Yeah, that's a good question, Nathan. That's interesting. I haven't thought about that, but you know, where's Ross? He's gone already. I probably put a significant burden on Ross with the budget because I was playing poker with football, went all in. You know, with where we are with football and not winning Big Ten championships, you know, I wanted to make sure that we did everything we could to make sure football has a real chance next year. And so when I think about my legacy, so to speak, I think about that. I hate to leave Ohio State when football's not back to winning Big Ten championships. So if that answers your question, I put a financial burden on Ross that he's got to balance the budget in the future because I just went berserk. If that answers your question.
You admitted that, you know, when the model changes, it's going to be harder to, you know, support all 36 of these sports the way you do now. Like, what do you see as kind of a future for how Ohio State can support those other sports, or could there come a time where there needs to be a consolidation of how many sports Ohio State has?
You know, the way I look at it now, I think it's going to have to be the expectations for the other sports. We talked about today the fact that in the past we've always had like expectations for all of them to chase championships. Well, realistically, if you're not providing all those resources that we currently provide, because you have to reduce their budgets in order to fund whatever comes at the top level, then you're gonna, you know, you just got to change your expectations. And you know, my guess is we'll still sponsor 36 sports, but they will be sponsored different. X number will be sponsored at a different level of support, if that makes sense.
Sheen, how has your stance on collectives changed since all got started in 2022? Obviously, Tennessee stuff has changed a lot, but how has that changed, and how have you think athletic departments have had to embrace them more?
Well, I think we learned a lot. I mean, it was 2021, so that first year we learned a lot, and then we embraced them and helped them raise the money that has allowed us to do what I hope we can do in the fall. But yeah, we embraced them. We worked closely with them, passionate people, great relationships. So we've helped them quite a bit, which allows them to help our student athletes.
Sheen, for 19 years, you were the athletic director here during like the height of the facilities arms race.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see college athletics moving away from the facilities arms race more and more every year as you get closer to paying student athletes?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the semantics, right? So for us, we weren't in an arms race. We were trying to just be functional. And so you guys go into Woody Hayes and you see how beautiful it is. We're putting lipstick on it right now, right? But when I came in 2005, we didn't have a recruiting department. We didn't have a creative services department. We didn't have the sports science people that we have. We didn't have all the modalities in the training room that we had. So we need more square footage, right? So that's practical. That's not like an arms race because Alabama's got it. That's just practical reality. We didn't have quality control assistants. I mean, we were using clauses right now for probably 8 or 9 people. You guys are in that building, so you see it. So we need more square footage. And so yes, to answer your question, yes, we will stay in the facility, renovation and expansion area. But for me, it was never an arms race. I never looked at the lacrosse stadium as an arms race. I looked at it practically like lacrosse needed a stadium, and we're going to build what we need for lacrosse, not what somebody else has, if that makes sense. Tennis is the same way.
Where does the expansion of Woody stand?
We're still talking about it. We got a plan. We hope to socialize that plan with the board in May and get their feedback, and then Dan Cloridan, who was our chief fundraiser, and his team, and Ross and I, we've talked about it, and we'll talk to a few donors before I leave and see if they'll be willing to help us.
Do you see a salary?
Help Ross.
Yeah. Do you see almost a salary cap situation coming though for the big time football teams if NIL moves in house, et cetera, where each school would be able to spend up to a certain amount and be accountable for it? I mean, how do you see that working, Jim?
I really don't, Tim. I wish I don't know that. That is one of the models that's been talked about, but we got to remember this is in the courts. So I just don't know what it's going to come out of. You know, hopefully we get some protections in the negotiations, or the judge, if it goes to trial, does that. But I think this is one where you really cannot see around the corner. There's been things in our past, you can see around the corner and kind of project, but this one, nobody can see around the corner on this one. Everybody, that's why you have 5 or 6 ideas like yours that's floating out there. Nobody knows.
The dominoes aren't there yet. Even
that's right. It's not there.
I want to ask you a hard question. Do you feel like in 2018, I've never asked you this before, do you feel like you and Urban took a bullet to a certain extent for what went on there in August? I mean, you remember me asking you at that press conference about things had gone up the line, so to speak. And I'm just, this. If you're going to ever answer that, I would think you would answer it now. What is your
got the old head up here?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I never looked at it that way, Tim. It's all semantics.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way, that we took a bullet. At the end of the day, mistakes were made, and people needed to be accountable for them. I needed to be accountable. Urban needed to be accountable for them. Whether I agreed with the suspension and how it was levied, that's another issue. But I just think differently. When it happened, sure, initially I was pissed off, but I don't stay pissed off long. I moved to resolution. It's just the way I am. I mean, I could stay pissed off and wallow in it and do what I used to do when my dad would beat me with a belt. But I just don't think that way. I moved to how do I be positive, and that's what I did. I mean, the notes that I wrote down during those 3 weeks of things to do, when I got back, it was scary. It was scary.
Obviously, Ross led the coaching search primarily on the basketball front, but why? What do you feel will be important for supporting Jake in the future of the basketball program?
Just alignment, helping him like he's done with his staff, and helping Jake grow as a leader. My blessing in working with Ryan was really watching him over the years grow as a leader. Remember, he wasn't a head coach before, and all of you watched it and was a part of it in so many different ways. Watching him grow as a leader now, I think I was at practice, whenever it was, and I'm watching him and Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles standing out there on the field, and I'm like, okay, we're there. The same thing would be true for Jake. While Jake is phenomenal in so many different ways, there's going to be a lot of things along the path, from a leadership point of view, that he will have to learn and ultimately need support around. And being that conscious, talking it through with him. Jake, okay, let's talk about that idea a little bit. Help me understand this. I'm a little curious on this. Not that you're saying you're against it or for it. You're just challenging him on the thinking. And then, helping him on that path to get there. So I think Ross is, I think Jake's going to be awesome. I think just being there to help him develop as a leader is going to be critical.
Chief, thank you very much.